We were very, very wrong about the Milwaukee Bucks, and they have a ton of problems. All the way back when the Milwaukee Bucks traded for Damian Lillard, I made a video saying the Milwaukee Bucks look unfair, and honestly, they have been the complete opposite of unfair. They have a ton of problems, and that probably explains why they're currently third in the Eastern Conference. And I'm here today to talk about some of those problems, because man, this Bucks team went from championship contender to potential first round exit. I'm not gonna lie, I am personally very worried for the Milwaukee Bucks that we're gonna get first rounded very quickly, because the way that this team has been playing all year has been super inconsistent, and I really just do not like it, and we need to fix this after the All-Star break or we're gonna be very cooked. But before I get into it, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It'd be very much appreciated, and comment, do you think the Bucks are gonna go ahead and fix their problems after the All-Star break, or are they gonna linger into the playoffs and the Bucks are gonna lose? Or let me know if you think the Bucks are somehow still gonna be championship contenders. Let me know. And let's start off with the Adrain Griffin drama. So as you guys should know, the Milwaukee Bucks last year lost in the first round of the playoffs when they were the 1 seed to the 8th seeded Miami Heat in 5 games. And after this series, John Horst and Milwaukee Bucks ownership thought it was time to make a change at the coaching position. They went ahead and fired Mike Budenholzer and went on the search for a new head coach. Now, in my opinion, the guy that I really wanted, it was Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse had that championship experience. He won a championship back in 2019 versus the Golden State Warriors that we should all know about. I really wanted him, but you know what? They had other plans. For some reason, Giannis really wanted Nick Nurse's assistant being Adrain Griffin, and in my opinion, I did not really care for this hire as much. It was kind of a big surprise to me, because like I said, I really wanted Nurse, but I'm like, Adrain Griffin, his assistant? I'm like, with him being his assistant, he could have learned some things for Nurse. That could have been good, but still, I wanted an experienced coach. Hiring a coach that doesn't have any like before head coaching experience could go really, really bad, especially when your team is old and your team is trying to win a championship now. So they went ahead and hired Adrain Griffin. I was like, this is going to be a very interesting experiment, and it indeed was. Honestly, this Adrain Griffin drama really goes back to the beginning of the season where him and Terry Stotts had an altercation back at practice. Bleacher Report gave out a report basically saying that apparently Terry Stotts attempted to have a conversation with Damian Lillard and Giannis, and then Griffin called Stotts to join the coaching huddle because apparently the coaches were having a huddle at that point, and Stotts asked for some more time with the players. You know, he just wanted to conversate with Lillard and Giannis, you know, probably talk about some basketball. And then Griffin went ahead and yelled at Stotts to go ahead and join the coaches huddle. So clearly Griffin was not having this. He really needed him in the coaches huddle. And the incident occurred in front of the entire Milwaukee Bucks basketball team. And apparently with this, Terry Stotts must just had a bad feeling about this. And you know what he did? 2 days later, he went ahead and resigned. And then throughout the season, Adrain Griffin just wasn't the right coach for the Bucks. Adrain Griffin as a head coach, he really failed to establish a good defense in Milwaukee and use Giannis and Brook Lopez to their defensive strengths. When Adrain Griffin was the head coach, the Milwaukee Bucks had one of the worst defenses in the NBA. It was not funny. The defense was all around horrible. Now, I knew that losing Drew Holiday, the defense was going to take a huge hit, but I think that the defense shouldn't have taken this big of a hit. First, we should know Giannis, one of the best defensive players in the NBA, and we still had Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez last year in the regular season was one of the best defensive players in the league. He was a top 3 finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. So having the defense being top ranked in the year that the Bucks lost to Miami, dropping all the way down to horrible, horrendous numbers all the way this year was not a good thing. And then there was tension between the team and Adrain Griffin all year. Apparently there was times where Giannis was being asked to sub out and he would refuse to. Giannis would be changing plays. Brook Lopez, they would tell him to do stuff on defense and he really didn't want to because he knew it was not gonna work. And with all this tension building up in Milwaukee and the Bucks really not being as good as their record would seem, 43 games in the Milwaukee Bucks had a record of 30-13 to tie the Minnesota Timberwolves for the second best record in the league. They went ahead and fired Adrain Griffin, and honestly I think it was a smart move for the long run. Like I said, that defense was so bad throughout the year that having that in the playoffs for the Bucks would just go horribly wrong. Yes, they might have won 30 games and only lost 13, but that defense was so bad. I think John Horst and Milwaukee management made the right call by go ahead and firing him, because like I said, you cannot go into an NBA playoff game with defense like that. You're going to get cooked very quickly. But yeah, all that stuff happened with Adrain Griffin, and man, we really should have hired Nick Nurse, because when we fired Adrain Griffin, there wasn't a lot of replacements out there, and the replacement for him is not a very good one. Out of all the head coaches we could have got, of course somehow we end up with Doc Rivers, the notorious choker. Of course, we should all know Doc Rivers won a championship all the way back in 2008 and really hasn't done anything since then, at least in the NBA playoffs. When it comes to choking leads in the NBA playoffs, if you need a guy, Doc Rivers is the perfect guy for that job. He's notorious at doing it. So yeah, we went ahead and hired Doc Rivers, and things really aren't that good with him either. As I'm recording this video, the Bucks just lost to the Miami Heat on a Tuesday night, and as of right now, they have a record of 3-6 with Doc Rivers as head coach. Yeah, things are not looking good in Milwaukee right now, coaching wise. Doc Rivers is gonna have some work that he's gonna have to do during the All-Star break, and he's gonna really need to figure out how to not choke anymore if he really wants to go ahead and bring this team to a championship. But with Doc Rivers as our head coach, I do not have a lot of faith that we're gonna even see the conference finals this year. So do you guys remember when I brought up earlier in the video talking about Terry Scott's of that incident? Remember I brought up a certain player named Damian Lillard? Yeah, it's time to talk about him now. Damian Lillard, in his last year with the Portland Trail Blazers, he was truly a special player. Last year, Damian Lillard averaged 32.7 assists and 4 rebounds in the 52 games that he played last year. His 3-point percentage was also 37.1, and his normal field goal percentage was 46.3. He was actually balling out all year, and like I said, he had that special 71-point game, and he was looking nice. Now, the Damian Lillard that the Milwaukee Bucks got, well, they got a Dame that averages 42% on field goal shooting. He only shoots 34% from 3. His scoring took a huge drop, only at 24 points. Look at Dame's game log. You can just tell that he's been very inconsistent this year. He's had some really good games and some really bad games. He's been inconsistent all year, and honestly, he's had more bad games than good games this year. He just hasn't been that same player that he was in Portland. Do I really know why this is going on with Dame? I don't know. I know there are some personal things going on in his life, like it's going through a divorce and stuff like that, but man, Dame has not been that same player this year, and I really hope after the All-Star break that he can fix it, but as of right now, it's not looking like it. Because Damian Lillard, he's one of my favorite basketball players of all time. I was so happy when we traded for him, but like I said, he just hasn't been that player that we need him to be, especially with how bad the defense is. We need the offense to go out there and be amazing every night, and we're gonna need Damian Lillard to be a huge part of that. And that brings me into the next thing about the role players on this team and that offense needing to be good. Some of these role players that the Bucks have are just not good anymore. Bobby Portis was a 6th Man of the Year candidate last year. Everyone in Milwaukee called him Mayor of Milwaukee. Everybody loved him. And now everyone in the state of Wisconsin who watches Bucks basketball wants him not in the country anymore. Here's the thing with Bobby. Last year, he was an amazing role player. He could score. He was getting rebounds like crazy. Yeah, here are the problems with Bobby now. He cannot shoot. I mean, he has some games where he can shoot, but recently, he cannot shoot. He can't play defense whatsoever. He gets cooked on a ton of plays, and he's a ball hog. For some reason, he just thinks that he's going out there, gonna go be Stephen Curry, Giannis combined, shoot whatever. He's a ball hog, and he does not pass the ball to his teammates. Pat Connaughton, he's been really whatever this year. He hasn't done anything special pretty much either, but he's always really been like that. He hasn't been a huge special player on this Bucks team, but he hasn't really played that well either. Honestly, a lot of people thought after that game versus Phoenix before the trade deadline that was going to be the last game that Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton played as a Milwaukee Buck, but clearly that didn't happen. And of course they got Jay Crowder, but he was hurt for like a long time this year, so he hasn't seen much playing time. So the role players for the Bucks really haven't been that good, but there is a couple good ones in my opinion. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later, but and then we also gotta factor in that this Bucks team is just old, man. Chris Middleton's what, 31? Dame's in his 30s. Giannis is almost 30. Everyone on this Bucks team is old, and that's leading to not good Everyone on this Bucks team is really old, and that's leading to a ton of injuries. Dame's been hurt for a couple games this year. Chris Middleton, has an ankle injury once again. He's been hurt, even though that ankle injury, in my opinion, wasn't really his fault. That was more KD's fault, but still, in the long run, this team being old is gonna hurt them because they have such a small championship window, and they have a win now window, and with that, that's just not really helping them right now because the way that they're playing basketball is not pretty good. It's not like they got time to experiment with different pieces and stuff. No, they need to win now. Now listen, I know I'm supposed to talk about the Bucks problems, but let's talk about the few positives that this Bucks team has. Of course, one of them being Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's an MVP candidate as usual. Giannis this year is averaging 30 points, 6 assists, assists and 11 rebounds. He's been playing well, like I said, an MVP candidate. The Bucks also had a nice pickup in Malik Beasley this offseason because he's shooting 44.9 from 3-point. He's actually been playing pretty well in the starting lineup for the Bucks. Like I said, he can shoot some great threes. And also at the trade deadline, the Bucks traded Cameron Payne for Patrick Beverley, and honestly, it hasn't been that bad of a trade. Now, I know Pat Bev doesn't do much scoring-wise, but he's been some energy that we need to bring to this team, defensively especially. And then the Bucks also have a super underrated player being AJ Green. He's shooting 41% from 3-point range, and honestly, he's been a great 3-and-D guy that the Bucks have needed. He's had a couple of impressive games this year where he's played pretty well. Now, he's not gonna go out here and score 20 every night, but when you need a 3-pointer, he can go ahead and give you a 3-pointer, and he can give you some defense as well. Now it's time to answer the real question of the video. Now, I know the title is the Milwaukee Bucks have problems. Now, my question is, can this be fixed after the All-Star break? Now, listen, I'm a Bucks fan myself, so I'm going to be unbiased here. I'm going to be 100% honest from what I've seen from this Bucks team. Do I think they can fix it? In my opinion, guys, we're going to need a miracle if we really want to go win a championship this year after the All-Star break, because, man, it's not looking good. Just a combination of Doc Rivers, Dame not playing the best, having an old team and injuries equals not a championship contender, and it looks like we're going to have a ton of problems after the All-Star break. Now, like I said, who knows? Maybe a miracle will happen after the All-Star break. This team will all of a sudden have some great chemistry. Everyone will start functioning right and play some great basketball. In my opinion, the way I see it currently, I just do not see it happening. We're probably going to end up being like a 5 seed or something in the Eastern Conference, and we could end up getting first round at this year. I would not be surprised whatsoever, but yeah. But like I said, guys, I'm very scared for this Bucks team. I don't know if the problems can be fixed, but it's going to be very interesting to see if they can be fixed. But in my opinion, I think we need a miracle. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about this Bucks team. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Watch this video right here on the Los Angeles Clippers and how they look pretty dangerous in the NBA right now. Because honestly, they've been looking like a pretty good team. And you know what, guys? I will see you guys in the next video.